The Monday, December 22nd episode of The Young and the Restless is written as a slow-burning pressure cooker, one where no single scene explodes on impact but every moment quietly tightens the emotional screws. By the time the hour ends, it becomes clear that Genoa City is standing on the edge of several interconnected disasters, all of them fueled by pride, fear, and unresolved power struggles. This is not an episode about sudden twists. It is about inevitability. Everyone involved can sense that something is coming, yet no one is truly willing or able to stop it. At the heart of the episode is Nikki Newman, who finally reaches the point where silence becomes impossible. Nikki has spent much of her marriage to Victor acting as a buffer between his worst instincts and the people he hurts. She has defended him, softened his image, and quietly cleaned up the messes left behind by his relentless need to dominate. On this day, however, Nikki understands that her usual approach is no longer working. Victor's obsession with Jack Abbott and his willingness to weaponize Newman Media have crossed a line that Nikki cannot ignore. This is not just about business competition. It is about character, and Nikki is deeply troubled by what Victor is becoming. When Nikki issues her threat, it is not framed as a dramatic ultimatum but as a moment of painful honesty. She is scared of how far Victor is willing to go and scared of what that path will cost them both. Nikki has seen Victor at his worst before, and those memories haunt her. She knows that once Victor's rage is fully unleashed, it rarely stops at its original target. Her words are an attempt to pull him back from the edge, to remind him that he still has something worth protecting. Their marriage, their family, and the life they have built together over decades. Victor, however, hears none of that. To him, Nikki's stance feels like betrayal disguised as concern. Victor has always equated love with loyalty and loyalty with obedience. Anyone who challenges his decisions, even someone as central to his life as Nikki, instantly becomes an adversary in his mind. His reaction is swift and furious. Rather than questioning his behavior, Victor becomes defensive and enraged, convinced that he is being undermined at a critical moment. This rage is not loud or theatrical. It is cold, controlled, and deeply unsettling. It signals that Victor is about to make moves driven by ego rather than strategy, which is when he is at his most dangerous. Victor's anger also exposes the tragic cycle at the core of his character. Time and again he pushes the people he loves away in the name of control, only to regret it later. The episode makes it painfully clear that Victor is once again choosing power over peace. Even as Christmas approaches, a time traditionally associated with reflection and reconciliation, Victor seems incapable of stepping back. His fury ensures that the Newman-Abbott feud will not only continue but escalate, with collateral damage that may reach far beyond Jack. While Nikki and Victor's marriage strains under the weight of unspoken fears, Claire is navigating a much quieter but equally dangerous crossroads. Claire is still learning how to exist in the world after years of psychological manipulation under Aunt Jordan. Although she appears stronger and more self-aware, the scars of that upbringing have not disappeared. The episode subtly shows how those scars influence her decisions, particularly when it comes to trust and connection. Claire is drawn to someone who makes her feel seen and understood, and that feeling is intoxicating after a lifetime of control. This new connection represents freedom to Claire, but the danger lies in how easily freedom can be confused with escape. Claire wants to believe she is making a healthy, independent choice, yet the audience can see warning signs that she may be repeating old patterns. Her vulnerability is not obvious or exaggerated, it is quiet and human. She craves normalcy, affection, and agency, and that craving makes her susceptible to influence, especially from someone who knows how to offer exactly what she's missing. The risk is compounded by the fact that Claire is a Newman. Any relationship she forms automatically exists within Victor's orbit, whether she acknowledges it or not. If Victor senses that this connection threatens his control or his family's image, his reaction could be swift and ruthless. Even worse, if the person Claire is trusting has ulterior motives, she could find herself entangled in a game far more dangerous than she realizes. The episode positions this storyline as a slow-burning threat, one that will likely explode when Claire least expects it. Meanwhile, at Jabot, the focus shifts to Billy and Kyle Abbott, whose uneasy alliance becomes one of the episode's most significant developments. These two men have clashed for years, driven by differences in temperament, priorities, and unresolved family wounds. Billy is impulsive, emotionally reactive, and fueled by a deep sense of injustice, while Kyle tends to think in terms of strategy and long-term survival. Their inability to align has often weakened the Abbotts from within, giving Victor exactly the kind of opening he thrives on. Victor's latest attack, however, forces a reckoning. Billy and Kyle both recognize that continuing to argue with each other only benefits Victor. In this episode, their shared frustration overrides their personal differences. They come to the same conclusion from different angles. Doing nothing is no longer an option. Victor will not stop unless he is confronted in a way that genuinely threatens his power. This moment of agreement is subtle but powerful. It suggests that the Abbotts are finally learning from past mistakes. By presenting a united front, Billy and Kyle signal that they are ready to protect Jabot at any cost. The episode hints that this unity could lead to bold, risky moves that might put them in direct